accumulation of knowledge and experience and education, we all have that superpower. The question becomes, how much do you get on your journey through this life of ours to then leverage into other things?
You walked across China, and then you walked across China again. Like, who does that? Why did you do that?
The Chinese wouldn't let me out.
What would you say to your younger self?
Nothing. I'm not going to tell you anything. You got to figure it out, because that's the fun part. You know what the regrets are? What you didn't do. You know what you never regret is the thing that you did do that turned out to be a catastrophe or a really weird thing. But at least it's a story. I got plenty of those.
Welcome back to The Parallel Entrepreneur. Some guests you introduce with a list of accomplishments. In this episode, Ian Adamson, his accomplishments are so long, the list would start to feel like its own endurance event. So we'll spare you the full rundown. Check it out in the show notes. The CV, the resume will blow you away. But what I can tell you is that today's guest has moved seamlessly between engineering, elite sports, television production, product innovation, and global competition leadership. Just the entire landscape. From working with brands like Nike to helping shape the future of obstacle and multi-sport racing as an international level. It's a career that doesn't follow a straight line, and that's exactly what makes it so interesting. And there's a lot more behind that story, so stick around and discover some more. I'd just like to say, welcome Ian Adamson to The Parallel Entrepreneur, brother. My first question is really around how you manage energy. So give the audience a sense of what you're trying to accomplish today, and then I'm interested to hear you weave into how you manage your energy levels and productivity on this multiple paralleling thing that you're doing.
It's not multitasking, which I actually don't believe in. It's multi-switching. Your ability to concentrate on something and focus on it to the exclusion of everything else allows you to do something really well. I don't believe it's possible, certainly not for me, to be working on opinions for a legal case and then get distracted by my phone pinging about something in Olympic sport. It just won't work. So I have an ability which has its own challenges to switch everything off, focus on that one thing, and then when I'm done with that one thing, immediately switch to the next thing, which could be completely unrelated. The energy part is interesting because most humans probably require some level of downtime. Let's call it a quiet space where you can think about other things, or just kind of let your mind go blank-ish, or not think about whatever the job at hand is. For me, it's manual labor. I love building stuff. So fortunately, it kind of gets into my actual work in Olympic sport, where I'm often out working on events and obstacles and like Ninja Warrior kind of stuff. So that's me with my hands. Most recently, my wife and I got really into saunaing. So in the last couple of months, I built 2 saunas. They're really nice ones that you would expect if you went into a Western hotel kind of saunas, with all the bells and whistles. And that's for me, that would be, I would switch off in the evening. I would switch off my chair job and switch into building a sauna. And that, for me, that includes opening up walls in the house to run 240 volt electric and then trenching for the conduit to get to the side, all that stuff, right? So that's manual labor. Framing, everything you would do to build a house, which I can do, by the way. I've actually built houses, so I can actually do that. That's the engineering side. That's my engineering brain going, oh, this is great. Now I get to wield a hammer, dig a hole, connect some electrical things, hopefully not blow myself up. And that's this other part about energy management. Where does the energy go? The energy could be physical or mental or emotional or spiritual or something like that. And for me, the downtime is going to be switched between things, switched from, say, concentrating on Olympic sport to legal forensic work to building a sauna or riding my mountain bike.
There you go. So I call that context switching. I think it's a superpower of parallel entrepreneurs. Let's just delve in for a minute to your accomplishments, your gold medals, your world champions. status in different sports. I'd like to help set the stage there by asking the question: how many medals have you had around your neck, and which one are you the most proud of?
I have 3 X Games medals, gold, silver, and bronze in the X Games, and that was in the beginning-ish of my career as a professional multi-sport athlete with Nike. Um, that involved many events, most multi-sport, multidisciplinary sports. At the time, adventure racing was a big deal as a televised kind of big broadcast, big money sport. That lasted until about 2006, which is when I retired. So I won a swag of world championship wins there. I think our team won 30 probably over the
Wow.
period. I won 23 medals, including 11 gold during that time.
How does training for an athletic event in your career and building media entertainment strategies around it, and then trying to build like an international Olympic alignment of this being a new Olympic sport, for example, those three things are an astonishing set of accomplishments that seem to be routine for you, Ian. But there must be a superpower that you've uncovered. What do you think it is?
The ability to absorb information and use it for some purpose. So uh, if you look at the formal education system, that's part of it. We go to kindergarten, elementary school, grade school. It goes on and on, right? And
Right.
the further you go, the more you accumulate. Now that's the academic side, but accumulation of knowledge and experience and education is exactly what you're describing. We all have that superpower. The question becomes, how much do you get on your journey through this life of ours to then leverage into other things, which makes it easier. Another example I think many people appreciate is language. Understanding one language or speaking a language fluently as a kid, or learning multiple languages as a kid, makes it much, much easier to learn more languages. And the Pope Leo, I believe, speaks 12 fluently. I've heard him speak French, and I couldn't tell he wasn't French. And not that I understand French that well, but I'm listening to the guy going, that's extraordinary that he can do that. On the other hand, he's dedicated his entire life to doing exactly that, which is what you're asking about. He did it. Um, Da Vinci did it. Michelangelo did it. It's not that they're extraordinary people, although they ended up being extraordinary people. We can all do that. We can all be extraordinary should we choose to do it. I think most people just don't have the will or the desire. And it's not that it's wrong. I mean, maybe you like sitting back on the beach and just, I don't know, drinking Mai Tais. And if that's your thing, do it. Because that's, you've achieved your goal of sitting on a beach and drinking Mai Tais.
So
That's not my goal.
no, so the little Ian Adamson who was 7 years old was looking through the Guinness Book of World Records, trying to figure out what people are doing that's interesting and challenging, and then you set about a goal to be a Guinness Book World Record holder. We were
Yeah.
talking, yeah.
You asked about Olympic sport. It all ties together, by the way. All these things that we do, you do it, I do it. I've seen your remarkable career through many things, and they're all complementary. Right? Whether it's making socks or a toy store, I mean, whatever it is, a hobby store, all that stuff matters because all that stuff ends up being you. And you are the sum of your experiences. And if those experiences include knowledge and education, then the sum of you includes a lot of stuff.
Ian, you're the president of the international governing body for obstacle sports, which includes Ninja Warrior, obstacle course racing, and adventure racing. And in that role, you've got executive management of a national, continental, even world level events management of television shows, including managing the competition at international multi-sport games. I mean, what would be your single greatest challenge since 2014 to today when you've been doing this big vision? What's been your biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge with building an international multi-sport federation, which is technically building a sport or sports, is is dealing with the people. But I think that's the same in any
Any
business.
business?
It's the people. People are humans can be terrible people, and there can be lots of challenges around people management. We believe, without hard data, but we believe there's at least 20 million people doing obstacle sports around the world in about 140 countries. So building an international organization is a bit like the United Nations. Each country has a national governing body. A national governing body then is a member of the international governing body. The international governing body then manages all of that. And it's a scalable system. So directly in the federation system, it's about 800 people. That's not insignificant. I guess that's a medium-sized company by most standards. Medium-sized, a small multinational, put it that way. But now I get to, as of today, formally announced, I am the chairman of the Obstacle Commission for World Pentathlon. And on March 15th this year, our organization voted to disband itself as we integrate into World Pentathlon in the Olympic movement. So all of our sports are being aggregated in one larger international multisport organization, which is World Pentathlon Multisport. That organization is Olympic, has been for 100 years. It was created by Baron Pierre de Coubertin, who created the modern Olympics. So it's a really interesting history. And it was always designed to house the most complete athlete, or identify the most complete athlete. The story goes that he based it off a courier on a battlefield taking a message from a general to another general on the other side. So he would run out of the tent, grab a random horse, gallop across the battlefield, use his pistol to defend himself, run out of bullets, get out his sword. His horse will get shot out from under him. He'd then have to swim across the river and run away. So that's the 5 things: shooting, fencing, running, swimming, and riding.
So you've also produced a lot of television content, starting with adventure racing, right? And then moving.
The American Ninja Warrior went to the set, met Travis McDaniel, the owner. He passed away tragically from cancer, but Travis, we had a chat with him, and I did what we often do in television for impossible shows, which is say, hey, this hasn't happened yet, but let's just say, hypothetically, we managed to get an event in the Olympic Games. Would you be interested in collaborating to get there? And Travis was like, yeah, that sounds great. We've stuck together ever since. And the current, or the most recent CEO was actually on my board for World Obstacle. I had to keep people close. Yeah. Same with Joe DeSena, Spartan Race, on my board. And Joe would call me every now and again, and he'd say, oh, I've got this new event. It's fantastic. It's called the Death Race. So yeah. That sounds great,
well,
Joe.
That's a great idea until it happens.
I know, right? And it's still going. The Death Race is still going. So that sounds great, Joe. And then by 2009 or 10, by 2010, he had started Spartan Race. And same thing. It's like, hey, Ian, got this up. This is going to be the best one yet. This is going to be amazing. And so he started Spartan Race, and I was like, yeah, whatever, Joe. Not really interested.
Huge. It's unbelievable, right?
It's the biggest. Spartan became maybe the biggest endurance producer in the world. They have more people doing their events in 1 year in one country than Ironman does worldwide. That's how big they are. They're massive.
Here's your answer, right? You get something out of the blue, and you go, that sounds great. Let's do it. It's an adventure.
Exactly.
That's a common. It feels like the common thread in our conversation is that some unknown, unexpected thing will always pop its opportunity in front of you, and you could say no. I think a lot of people say no to a lot of stuff. They should just be saying yes, You know
what the regrets are? What you didn't do, for sure. It's like, I wish I'd done that. You know what you never regret is the thing that you did do that turned out to be a catastrophe or a really weird thing. But at least it's a story. I got plenty of those.
Yeah.
Whether some of our experiences, most of them are failures. But that's the truth. I mean, people go, oh, you did all this stuff. It looks amazing. And it's like, yeah, what you haven't seen, and I don't really talk about, is all the stuff that went wrong. Right. Because most of it goes wrong most of the time. You just have to accept it and roll with it and go and have an attitude. Here's the attitude for me anyway. It's like, okay, that didn't go as expected. Right? That's usually what actually happens. Like, that didn't go as expected. But you know what? That was a really, really good lesson. And next time I'm going to do it better because I just learned how not to do it. And now I know a much better way to do it.
Or if it didn't go as expected, there's an opportunity that that was better than you'd hoped.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this whole thing is about uh, whoever said this is right. The sum of your experiences. We
I
are the sum of our experiences, and if the journey is an unexpected one, and it is the journey, because what else are you going to enjoy if you don't enjoy the journey, which is life? You may as well not live. So enjoy whatever you're doing.
I asked you a question in one of our many catch-up calls, because on the podcast, I'll ask, "Hey, what would you say knowing what you know now, all these experiences, what would you say to your younger self?"
Nothing. Don't
Nothing
tell
at
them
all.
anything. Nothing at all.
You just feel like you'd walk up to your younger self and like, "Hey, dude, nothing."
Yep. No, nope. Not going to tell you anything. You got to figure it out because that's the fun part.
Yeah. You had a lot of experiences in China, and I think one of them that always just, uh, still leaves me my jaw dropped is the when you walked across China, and then you walked across China again. I mean, like, who does that? Why did you do that?
I had taken a year off in 1983 after high school to travel, to sail. That was a sailing thing. Did 2 years of school, then went back out for another year. It's more than a year because Australia's school year, like most school years, is actually, I don't know, 15 months or something. So I had a bit of time to poke about. So I flew to Hong Kong, then took the ferry over to Macau, and went into China. At that time, you were officially allowed to visit, I think it was Beijing and Guangzhou and Shanghai, and maybe some tourist spots. That was it.
Yeah.
So you had this sort of permit thing, a little paper book that allowed you to go places. But when I was younger, I looked quite Chinese. So um, I I just bought the local clothing and then I just took off. Ended up going out to Kashgar, far western China, um, and started out on a steam train. Ended up getting out there and then trying to cross into Pakistan. Now, Pakistan's a Commonwealth country. So at the time, with an Australian passport, I did not need a visa for Pakistan. But the Chinese wouldn't let me out because they said, you need a visa for Pakistan. And I said, I don't need a visa. I'm a Commonwealth citizen. And they said, you do need a visa. Finally, I went back to Beijing. This was like
So all the
the
way back
second
across the
crossing back to
country.
Beijing. Went to the Pakistan embassy, camped out there for a week trying to convince them I needed a visa, which I didn't. And they didn't want to give me one because they said, you're a Commonwealth citizen, you don't need a visa. So I finally convinced them. So finally they gave up and just like, okay, here's your visa stamp. So I got the visa, went back to Kashgar. That's my third crossing of China. Um, and then I was standing at the border to it's no man's land. It's like 100 kilometers of no man's land. I was standing there, high altitude desert. There's nothing there. There's actually a sentry with a little pillbox and a boom gate in a vast empty space and his rifle. Like that was it. It's like, okay, now what do I do? Well, in the far distance, as I was standing there, this little cloud of dust appeared and got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then there was a white Toyota Land Cruiser with a whole bunch of French journalists. And they said, we're the first people to cross the Karakoram from to Kashgar to China in 100 years. And I said, you are
Really?
from south to north. I'm going to be first to do it from north to south. Can I use your car? And they said, no problem. We're out of here. So I jumped in their vehicle with a friend of mine and we went south. We believe we're the first people to have done it in 100 years, May 1986. Then I got really sick. And there's a whole other story around that. But that was part of my tooling around on foot in 1986.
When you decide you're gonna do something, what's the next step for you? How do you break problems and challenges down into winnable parts?
I switched my brain to the engineering side. So I go into project management mode, and that's then creating a schedule with goals, dates, action items. Sometimes it's mental. Mostly I put it out in the calendar, but
Everybody, I think, has gotta have some kind of a way to reach down deep and sort of pull in that extra ounce of motivation, whatever that is, in order to accomplish and overcome some significant challenge. What would be an example of that for your experience?
actually, the motivation while we were racing changed over time. In the early days, it was to see if we could finish. It started as fun and new and exciting. It got to being professional and exhausting. And then the races were, how can we make this enjoyable? So it would be, let's just get ahead of the other teams as far as we possibly can and sit down and look at the view. That was kind of what it ended up being, because it was more about, at that point, it's coming full circle, right? Like, what made this great to start with? It's an amazing place. It's beautiful. This pristine forest and just gorgeous. There's jumping whales in the Arctic Circle and rainbows, and that was the fun stuff. Okay, I just want to do that. I don't want the other stuff. I just want that stuff.
We talked about the experiences that you've had that I'm gathering this sense that it's not just that you know what to do, but you know how to handle the unexpected. Is it your experience, you know what to do, the most important, or is it your experience that you know how to handle the unexpected most important?
Let's say you have a fine arts degree, but you end up being a TV producer. It doesn't matter what the degree was. What you learned at school was how to learn.
Mm.
That's ultimately what it was. And most people going into school have no idea what they want to be at the end. They probably switched majors twice. Like, this is not uncommon. Why? Because we're finding our way. The journey, school is a journey, and that journey teaches you all sorts of stuff that you need later. So go to school. Why? And what do I do? Doesn't matter. I'm not going to tell you what to do. That's like to my former self.
Right.
Would I tell my former self what to do at school? Hell no. You go figure it out. Do something and just figure it out.
I remember you teaching me about running barefoot and the mechanics of running. And if I wanted to run better, I was training for some triathlons at the time, and you were saying it's impossible for you to run with bad race mechanics or bad running mechanics if you're barefoot. And I just like my mind was short circuiting as I'm thinking. So I did. I put some Swiftwick socks on and I went out and I started running barefoot, which actually was spectacular. It was very, very weird.
Oh, it's crazy weird for people who wear shoes. And most humans on Earth really don't, by the way. If you're wealthy enough to afford them, you do. There's a whole nother conversation. You should have Mark Cucuzella on this. Mark, I'm sure you know Mark. You built stuff for him. We went through that whole compression thing with Mark.
That's right.
Developing the compression socks, which I still use. They're spectacular, by the way.
I remember we were trying to develop the world's best compression sock. And
they arguably were. I still use them. Yeah, I still have them. I only use those ones.
They last forever, and they were medical grade compression socks. When I retired from the company, leadership decided to ultimately abandon that particular initiative. And what I find in my own professional life is that I'm going to push the edges, push the boundaries, try to figure out why can this not be done, because I don't have any preconceived notions about why something I don't know how to do can't be done. So I'm going to go figure it out. And I wanted to make a medical grade compression sock that was not going to wear out. And boy, we got some balloon toe stuff going. You and I were we literally innovated in that space. But then the company decided to stay focused in a different area, and we never were successful. Actually, that's a failure of mine, I suppose, is that we had the world's best medical compression sock, and I priced it. This is a lesson. I priced it too low. The market thought that a great medical compression sock had to cost $80. And I thought that was ridiculous because it should be about 35 or 40. And we could produce it profitably for that, if you'll remember. And we were out there building the world's best sock. And at $40 a pair, people didn't buy them. The medical community didn't buy it because preconceived notions about price points in value. Right?
Market forces have come to bear, because I was in the pharmacy at the local hospital just the other day, and they have racks of medical compression socks now, which are at a reasonable price. Like you had originally, you're too far ahead of the game. I mean, this is a common problem, being too early. Leah suffers from the same thing. She's always too early. her business suffers a bit because she was too early into the business. The good thing is she got the patents, so that's not too early. She did it with online fitness programming. When I first met her in 2004, we went down to a studio of a friend of ours in Denver to produce Fit Tip of the Day fitness workout videos for mobile devices. Motorola said it's never going to happen. AT&T said, nope, not a chance. No one's ever going to do that. No one will ever look at a phone and do a fitness workout or have anything to do with it. It's just a stupid idea. And and lo and behold, probably what the only thing people do now is focus right here.
Yeah.
Whether it's on your spin cycle, whatever it's going to be on a tablet, it's going to be right in your face. And Leah had produced a whole series of these things. We were the crash test dummies. We were the cast on it. And it was good. Fit Tip of the Day. But same thing, too early.
Too early.
People say, no, people aren't going to do that until someone does.
And we don't really know what we want until someone shows us what's possible. And then many people, most consumers' eyes are opened. It's not like you're looking at a market and everybody wants this, and so I'm going to deliver it. It's a little bit like, I'm going to create this and the market exists, but the timing is off, or the capital formation is off, or the reason that we fail is we didn't have the right team. What do you think? What do you think the anecdote is? You just keep after it, or then what?
Yeah, you do keep after it and apply pressure, constant pressure, I call it. Just apply constant pressure. Inevitably, you are not the first, maybe not even the best, but if you're the guy who applies constant pressure, that's the one that's going to stick. Here's a parallel for you on this exact topic. In the 1890s, there were 4 Olympic Games. There was an American one, a French one, a Greek one, and a French, Greek, French, British, and American, 4. Okay, the Hellenic Games, I think, are still going. The one that we know today, which has its own history, but you get to ride the history if you're the winner, right?
Right.
You can have a hard time finding these other Olympic Games. And one of them was around for at least 60 years before what we know today as the modern Olympics. Baron Pierre de Coubertin, the founder of modern pentathlon and the founder of the modern Olympics, won. That's the one we know. The Olympic Games we know is the one today is the one we know because he won. And he was smart. He went to the rugby school in England to learn how to do sport, because the rugby school in England, the British really invented modern sport as we know it. All the football codes came from the rugby school in England. American football, Australian football, rugby union, rugby league, soccer, they all came from the rugby school in England. And so did the modern Olympics, ultimately, because Baron Pierre de Coubertin was an educator and he understood school and education. He went to the rugby school. Over the gate to this day, over the gate of the rugby school in England is stronger, higher, faster. Citius, Altius, Fortius. It's on the gate to this day, has been there since Baron Pierre de Coubertin went there. And that's the Olympic motto. So the rugby school has a lot to answer for.
So these games died out in competition with one another until there was an emerging winner. So they were all there at the same time. They just kind of like humanity, right? Our species walked the earth at the same time that the Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, right? Neanderthal, I think there's fossil evidence that Neanderthals were walking and existing on Earth at the same time as what we would consider modern humans. And then
bigger, stronger, smarter, but not more successful. There's a difference.
Yeah. And what's the secret?
It really goes back to the title of this show, which is Parallel Entrepreneur. I think what humans can do quite well is they have a capacity to do things in parallel. If you're single-minded, single-focused, like bright light, narrow focus kind of thing, you can get something done really well, but you might fall off a cliff doing it because you're not paying attention to what's around you. What humans have a capacity to do, not always do it, but they have a capacity to have this awareness of other stuff. And it's some people do it way better than others. Survival, I think the studies show that I think it's based on airplane crashes, but studies show that about 10% of humans will probably survive something when something happens unusual. I would probably class you in that. You would be that person because you're thinking outside the box, right? You're just thinking, what else is going on? That's curious, kind of like that. Most people aren't like that. They're stuck to their phone, or they're kind of single focused, they're not paralleling it. They don't have the awareness of the other stuff. If you don't have the awareness of the other stuff, you're probably going to fail if something really goes wrong because you didn't realize there was an exit on your left 3 steps back. Like in a plane, you might be like this. If you're in a plane, do you know where the exit is?
I pay
It's like,
attention to the exits. I absolutely do.
exactly. In front, behind. Not only that, the people around the exits. Like the exit on the left's got a big guy in the middle. I'm not going to go to that one. The exit on the right, a couple of kids will help them out and then go out that one. It's kind of like that. That's just, I guess the military will call it situational awareness. But I think some people innately have that. You also know the semi-trailer on the right lane coming at you behind you. If you don't know that and you're driving, you're an idiot because that's what's going to get you. But most people are like this. They just focus on the road, like tunnel vision down the road. Terrible idea.
There's a certain numbness that I think we can observe. I find when I talk to people about paralleling and parallel entrepreneurship, like your careers overlapping, my companies overlapping, some of them being obviously synergistic and some of them being not obviously synergistic, from short sea shipping to sock manufacturing. They're all opportunities to learn for me. They were all things that interested me. And I never thought I couldn't do it. But I do hear when I start talking to people who don't make the show that they're not the right fit. Why? Because, well, they're great entrepreneurs, but they really just think that they can only focus on one thing, and that's going to be what makes them successful. And I'm sure it does. In most of those cases, no question, they're successful. But there's also some form of a self-limiting belief there. I want to just pull on that thread.
In this world of parallel entrepreneurs, I think from the outside, it will be, you're really successful doing stuff, right? That would be an outside view. From the inside, it'd be like, yeah, parallel entrepreneurs, that makes complete sense to me. Leah won Entrepreneur of the Year for EY, some major award for Ernst & Young a few years ago.
Sure.
And then got to go to the EY annual shindig over in Palm Springs, Palm Desert, which is astonishing. The way it works is it's like the top couple of hundred people in the world, leaders in their fields in innovation and startups and stuff. They get to be those people. It's not the top. It's not the Fortune 500. It's the cream of the crop. Like it's the top of the top. And so those people, they're all this. Every single person there has this parallel entrepreneur mindset. They use many different terms to describe it, but every conversation is going to be like that. Every conversation will be this conversation. This conversation for days. It's exhausting because it's so engaging and it's so incredibly insightful that you leave and you need a year to recover. Because you learned so much in such a short time and made so many connections that you can also see how it's self-perpetuating, because every conversation ends up an unexpected outcome of, you do Olympic sport. You do this. We should do this. And I do that. And it's like, and it's so exactly what you want and expect, but also unexpected at the same time. The expectation is every conversation will be fascinating and there'll be an unexpected outcome. Everyone knows it, and everyone's there for that. And Ernst & Young, which a lot of people don't know, one of the top 4 accounting firms in the world, right?
Right.
But the success is not that they're an accounting firm, which they're staggeringly good at. It's that they are connectors, and they don't ask for anything ever. They are not promoting themselves at all. They don't need to, by the way, because they're that good. But being associated with EY at any level, it's a big deal. It's like having a PhD from Harvard in whatever you want, or all of them. It's kind of like that. It's like, you're an EY alum. Yeah, let's have a chat.
My friend Brandon shared a piece of advice recently. Dress so that if someone dressed up as you for a costume party, everyone would know it was you. Now, that's not entirely about clothing. That's about identity, about showing up fully. My wife Jenny and I are leaning in on this concept, both in our personal lives and now in a little startup we call Happy Overall. We're making overalls. Each one is made to order as a wearable canvas for art. Overalls that are comfortable, durable, and expressive. We're sourcing soft, 100% cotton. We're partnering with designers and with local seamstresses who love the artistry of a well-crafted piece of clothing. We're launching in summer of 26, so check out happyoverall.com to see pics and see if anything resonates with you. Fully you, and it'll happen every time you reach for them. If you want to be part of the first run, join our waitlist at happyoverall.com. I was watching a show when I can't sleep. I'll watch some odd thing with Neil deGrasse Tyson or
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
something on YouTube that is research and going to expand my mind because I'm curious. And I started watching something the other night, and it was about sperm whales and the AI decoding of their language, 9,000 recordings, and how they set up the audio, actually like a TV production, how they went about laying out the sonar and the audio recording devices and how they placed them on the pod, the female leader and the male leader and the kids, and how they were able to triangulate in order to know which whale was talking to which whale. They made the assumption they could figure it out. And then they just had this massive amount of data. And the conclusion was, that fascinated me, that they are speaking a fully developed language with vowels, and they're addressing one another and communicating in the same way that humans communicate. And they've developed this over their own millions of millennia. And we just think they're clicks and whatever we think, but in fact, we're wrong. And it's a complete language that we can decode and communicate. Now, have you seen a whale that would coach you on where to straighten up your sailboat and fly right? But
Well, strangely, cetaceans sometimes do assist humans on craft. In fact, I think there was something in the news just recently about a whale or a dolphin or something that helps someone. It's not uncommon. I've seen it before. And that actually doesn't surprise me. This is new to me, but that clicking thing, the Maasai talking clicks, their language is clicks. So it's not a lot different from whales.
yeah,
So how did that develop? Who knows? That's probably not a connection, but it's a random coincidence. That brings up AI. I imagine AI has a hand in that because they would be able to process that data quickly.
yes,
It's
that's
about
what
data process. AI is, I'm not really into it that much. I'm not allowed to use it for legal work for lots of reasons, but it's fascinating. Leah had paid a company to look at how many uses are out of an eyelash container, right? These little tubes. It's not much. It's a tiny amount of liquid, but you don't need much. We were questioning it, and then Leah said, "Hey, let's just let's have some coffee and then do the evaluation ourselves." So we got a bunch of the containers of eyelash and eyebrow serums, and then we started measuring uses. The company had done it on paper towels. They got the little wiper out, which is like a spoolie brush you use for mascara. So you get this little spoolie brush, and they were wiping it on paper. And Leah said, "Well, that's not accurate because it's not an eyebrow." So
right.
we did it on our eyebrows, and we spent a morning going through hundreds and hundreds of uses of these things to create the data to see if it was correct. Scratched the hell out of our eyebrows because the little spoolie brushes are kind of abrasive. And then our eyebrows went crazy because when you scratch when you're exposing blood vessels, this is now the stuff's going right into your system. So that's a really good way to get the stuff active. We found that out later. That was incidental. But what ended up happening was we had a notepad and we were writing by hand in columns, right? Time, amount, weight. We had a little microgram weighing scale. So we'd weigh things, we'd write it down. We did this for a whole morning. Like by the end, there were thousands of recordings. And then Leah took a picture with her phone and she has one of the commercial level AI program things, which is for her only.
Right.
She took a picture and then said, "Now what do we do?" And they said, "Well, you want to run statistical analysis and get the standard deviation, the mean, the mode, the average, the variation, predict what it's going to do over there, do all the stuff basically, right?" So as an engineer would do. And I was there doing it by hand just to check it, and with my calculator, like old school,
Your calculator?
pressing buttons, writing things on a piece of paper. And then AI did it in about 30 seconds. And then Leah said, "Oh, I'm put into a format that's acceptable by the regulatory authorities in the United States and in Europe." And this thing spat it out so fast. And then I checked it. I sat there for an hour checking it, and it was on the money. And I'm like, "Holy shit, this is good!"
Yeah.
Like, it was so much work. I didn't even. I ran a couple of the stats. Like, I did a few basic things. I didn't do the standard deviations, but I did some of the basic stuff just to check it. On the money. It
That's
was
been
just
my
amazing.
experience. Yeah, that's been my experience. Although, unfortunately, lately, some of my projects that are AI centric feel like there's just constant context rot, and keeping it framed in and remembering the progress that we've made to this point, and it seems like it always wants to start over again. So I've been focusing on accountability and isolation and sort of how to make sure that I'm building upon a previous factual success, that like that hour that you spent trying to validate the numbers and it was right on. If you kept on doing that analysis, would it get less accurate over time? And it's been frustrating and yet enlightening at the same time for me. That conversation about AI, and I actually didn't think we were going to go there, but we lots of us do today. My observation about AI is that uh, I think we're afraid of the discovery. I think the pace of discovery is going to so completely surprise us. What we if we want to learn, we're going to learn a whole lot really quickly, really fast in this society that is sort of likened to not be so fast. Let's slow down, Junior. And I'm not so concerned about the job loss kind of stuff as I am about how do we absorb new facts and new discoveries, processing things like whales are communicating in the same full sentence structure and addressing one another the way you and I are right now on this podcast. Um, that's Does that going to blow some people's perspective, or are they just going to ignore it and move on as if they've got blinders on? It feels like a big, huge opportunity for discovery and curiosity to really, really, really take root with humanity. And I'm not afraid of it. I'm frustrated by some of the learning curves that I've got to still overcome. But yeah, it's exciting. It's a very exciting time.
The thing I find exciting about it is that it's unexpected. We don't know, can't predict it. It's moving quickly. That's fun.
Yeah.
I love progress. I I see the mindsets of the spectrum of mindsets of people in things like construction. Behind our place in California, they're building housing for academics. And it's like 100 homes
Okay.
on a big, nice piece of property that the university owns. Some of the neighbors are like, this is a disgrace. We can't have this progress. This is going to wreck the neighborhood, right? There's the NIMBY thing. And I look at it and go, this is fantastic. This is really interesting. I love how they've figured out the traffic on this. I like the process, and I like change. I don't like the fact that we're overpopulated by 80% of the human on the planet, but that's another discussion. People keep saying we need more money and more people to create more money. It's like, yeah, that's a death spiral. I
Yeah.
hear that a lot from the economists. Like, we need higher birth rates so we can generate more people to pay for more people to get more people. It's like, terrible idea. You just said what you actually said was we need to get so many people here that what they're actually saying is there will never be enough people to pay for the people that are here. So you just can't keep making more people. It's caused all the problems we have. It's fighting for space, right? It's all
Yeah.
about humans fighting for shit. And that's a terrible idea. Japan's doing just fine and their population is decaying. So do that.
Yeah. Quality of life might be a better focus.
Right? Quality of life. How can we possibly, we can't support, we have exceeded the ability of the planet. We exceeded the ability of the planet to support humans decades ago.
And
Decades
why
ago.
do we think why do we not believe that? Who is feeding us with this line of shit?
It's money.
Yeah.
It's all about the money. Look at this idea of you need higher birth rate to have more people to create more money to support the people. It's like no, that's a absolute disastrous idea. That's a false premise and one that is completely flawed. There's nothing valid. There's nothing rational about that at all.
We've talked a lot about adventure today, and I think recently this trip that was taken around the moon was a imagination capturing moment in time. It reminded me that those astronauts are athletes. They've been training for 4G and more for a long time. And I wonder what perspective you have on the athleticism of our astronaut population.
Everyone should train to be an astronaut, and then we'd be way better off. Astronauts are mentally, physically, and emotionally capable and competent humans. That's what we need. And we need those people. We want less thoughtless, mindless robots and more thoughtful people who, and I'm told if you look down at the earth and you see the blue marble, it completely changes you, which I believe completely. Being on the ocean is the same. When you cross an ocean uh, slowly on a little boat, you get a completely different perspective of the planet. And then you realize how incredibly large and delicate it is and complex. Maybe this is the last thing I'll say. 1974, a gentleman sailed from Sydney to Tokyo on a little sailboat, wrote a book about it. The book was a lot about the sea life, the birds and the whales and the fish, and basically was describing this abundance of the oceans. Many years later, decades later, I'm going to say 2004,
Okay.
he repeated the journey, but the thing he wrote about for the wildlife was none. No whales, no schools of fish, no birds, didn't catch anything, nothing. It was a desert. And I've seen it in person because I was sailing in the 80s, early 80s, late 70s, I was sailing the oceans in the 80s. And my memory was the same. It didn't take long, 2013, 30 years after I'd been on the Great Barrier Reef, I went back and went sailing again to places I knew, I thought I knew. And had my wife and a couple of friends, and we went out and said, oh, we're going to go out to the outer reef near off Cairns here. And it's just the most amazing thing you'll ever see in your life. It's indescribable.
I've actually dove
Why
off
desert?
Cairns, off Port Douglas, and did the Great Barrier Reef, which was astonishing. To me, it's been the benchmark. It was 35 years ago. Yeah.
Now, back then, it was astonishing.
Yeah.
Today, well, even 2013, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, it was, I didn't recognize it. It was a desert, white, bleached desert of death. Now, 80% of the largest organism that's ever grown on the world is dead. And that's just that's the tip of the iceberg, because that's one of the foundational pieces of the entire ecosystem of the oceans, and it's basically dead. Now, that told me, that was in 2013. That was when I really paid attention to like what the hell we're doing, because I was seeing it. I've sort of been seeing it over time. It's like, hey, these reefs don't look so great. Well, this reef doesn't look so great. And that's from like Malaysia, the Philippines, Indonesia, the Mediterranean, like all over the world. I've been seeing this, just like little bits and pieces, wondering why it didn't look so great. And I just thought, oh, this reef isn't so good, or that island's not so good. Turns out it's the entire ocean. The entire ocean has been completely decimated.
What are we going to do about this, or what is it that we should be teaching ourselves from this lesson called a dying ocean?
Well, to get rid of the humans would be a start.
Mhm.
Because we're the problem. We are the problem. What we're doing is the problem. Being here is the problem. One reason we don't have kids. One of them. It's not a primary reason, but it's we could have had a kid, I suppose. But there's bringing a human into an overpopulated place with humans is a bad idea. Not that biological drive isn't going to drive more humans to have more humans, but it's still, there's ways to do it properly. We do not need 8 billion people or 9 billion soon on the planet. 1 billion is plenty. That's sustainable. But what we're doing is every biologist will tell you the same thing. Every scientist who is a real one will tell you the same thing. And I grew up with, my parents were biologists. So we were schooled, and before this was a thing, they saw the signs, they saw what was happening in the 70s and 80s.
Sure.
But now we know. But science is so slow in confirming because you've got to disprove your theories. That's that. People don't know this, but seem to know it. You got to try and disprove your ideas. That's good science. Good science, good engineering is the same thing. I got to prove that I'm wrong. I'm going to do everything I can to prove this is wrong. Most people are trying to validate why they think it's right, and that's a terrible thing to do because it's confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias, right?
Yeah, it's confirmation bias. You say, I've created this thing, it's the best thing in the world, it's amazing, and it's going to, that's a terrible idea. If I build an obstacle, if I create an obstacle for obstacle racing, which I do a lot of, I'm trying to figure out how it can be wrong, how it can be break or create a problem, or
Well,
most
how it
people
can be
look at, oh, that's,
dangerous, right? I mean,
how it can be
you are
dangerous.
really focused on safety.
Well, I am, especially my day job as a legal forensic expert is about risk and identifying risks and hazards and dangerous conditions. And there's, I get this answer a lot. It's like, this obstacle's fine because we've never seen something happen on it. It's like, well, how many times have people used it? How many users do you have? We've been using this for 3 years at least, and we've had hundreds, thousands of people on it. I'm thinking 6, 7, 8 sigma would be better, meaning like 6 sigma is 1 in a million. Like 1 in a million is still a bad idea. When you get to a million, because something's going to happen. What if you get to 10 million? What if you get to 100 million? And you know what? In obstacle racing, we're way over 100 million obstacle completions, way over. So you got to start thinking in 8 sigma numbers. Because do you want a death ever? No. If you have 100 million people doing something, if one person could die, do you want that to happen on your watch? It's going to happen. That's what I'm doing. But most people are like, yeah, but I've been doing this for 10 years and I've never seen it. Must be okay. It's like, oh no, no, it's not. It's absolutely not okay. you're looking at it wrong.
That's the same logic. I had an opportunity to sit with an FAA administrator once, and they talked about the level of perfection required for flight to be safe. And it wasn't 6 sigma, it wasn't 8 sigma. It was a big number. Like, people don't really appreciate, I think, all the the thought that goes into to safety at scale in massive systems. And I never really thought about how many hundreds of millions of people are participating in obstacle sports until this conversation, like, put a number on it.
Well, the numbers I look at for safety are, when I say obstacle completions, we'll use Spartan race as an example. Let's say they have 400,000 finishes a year, people finishing an event, and on average, they're going through 30 obstacles. So just do the math. That's 12 million obstacle completions a year. And they've been doing it for over 10 years, 120 million obstacle completions. When you get to numbers like that, the data you have is significant. That's good data. The standard deviations are low. The averages are good. You start to understand what can happen. So Spartan, we work very closely with Spartan. Joe's a friend of mine. He's the owner. And Giles is the CEO and he's on my board. So we work constantly together and we have these exact discussions. Giles and I, the CEO, will be in meetings where we hear things like, oh, but we've never seen anything happen. And we'll be in a group of people who maybe have had thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of obstacle completions. And Giles and I look at each other and go, not 120 million. It's a different number. We're talking about different things here. We don't say it. My job, my future ex-president job is partly that. It's to be able to help guide some of the things that matter for people. It's about the humans. Like, what's going to hurt someone? We need to address that. What's going to excite someone? We need to do that too. What's going to motivate someone? And the fundamental premise of this whole thing, which is kind of a good thing for everyone, is sort of the Olympic motto, which is not the motto, it's the purpose. The Olympics is a movement. If most people don't know that. It's the Olympic movement, not a company, not an event, not a games. It's a movement. The idea, the purpose of the movement is to make, paraphrasing it, to make better humans through sport. Now, if you do that, you actually make a better planet, because a better human is going to be doing things. A better human is going to be looking after everything, including the planet. So in my world, making better humans through sport has a wider implication. The good thing about the Olympic movement is it's kind of big. There's 5 billion people will be watching the game, maybe 6 billion will be watching LA. 6 billion, that's most of the human population. So you can influence a lot of people by doing good things. And people get motivated during our games. You remember from Torino, it's an incredible experience. It's like, This is amazing. We should do this every year. Kind of like that. It's like, I want this every day. Paris, same thing. Like, Paris was incredible. LA is going to be, I think, as good in a different way, but maybe better in other ways. So we have this platform to do amazing things and make better people. If we make better people, we make a better planet. So that's why sport matters. And that's why I find sport incredibly useful for, I guess, creating a legacy of good. That's a bigger question. What do you do at the end? Because we know what the destination is, but what happens after that? Yeah. We're gone. What happens now? If we can leave a legacy for good, we did something. We changed. We did something. Do something. Don't do nothing.
Man, we have to do something. And I think the question is also, how do we experience being? Like, just doing something isn't always enough. Sometimes we have to be better, which could mean doing less, changing less, consuming less, thinking about how to produce better humans in educational systems, and, physically improving our world. I don't know. I like that legacy. Let's do that. Let's do more of that.
Let's do it. And let's remember that 80% of humans have not enough of anything. Not enough food, not enough stuff, not enough shelter, not enough water, not enough anything. 80% of our population. When I say ours, I mean us as a species. Most of our species are destitute, and they have terrible conditions. We do not. We are the ones that have the opportunity to help make that difference. They do not. They cannot get enough water. They're walking 8 miles a day to get water, and not enough of it. That we don't have to do that. I can walk 1 foot and turn my tap on and get drinking water that I can shower in, which is a stupid thing to do, by the way. We shower in drinking water. How crazy is that?
Wow. I guess I haven't given it any thought. Which is a part of, the purpose of a conversation like this, is to cause us to think. Well, Ian, I can't tell you how happy I am to get on a conversation with you. This has been a great conversation about life, performance, dedication, curiosity, Olympics, the movement that makes better humans, and your part in it, which I'm grateful for, that there's people like you communicating and collaborating and building a better world. Thank you.
All of us. Thank you, Mark.
Hey, thanks for listening to The Parallel Entrepreneur. And thank you to our sponsors, partners, and the amazing team behind the scenes who help make these conversations possible. If today's episode sparked something for you, be sure to follow, subscribe, and please share it. Learn about our growing community at parallelentrepreneur.com, including details on our mastermind and companion programs designed to help you align, grow, and thrive across multiple ventures. And of course, gratitude to every visionary guest who trusts us to share their story. Until next time, keep building in parallel.